Alright, so with this speech, I'm going to try and convince any of you tennis players out there that Roger Federer was the greatest tennis player to have ever lived, and that Rafael Nadal is the greatest clay court player to have ever lived. I have a few facts here that I wrote down from the ITA website and such, win-loss records, stuff such as that. And Federer, for instance, has a win-loss record of 1,067 to 240 versus competition Djokovic and Nadal. Djokovic is at 708 to 147, and Nadal is at 779 wins to 165. Now, those are very large numbers, so to actually break it up into ratios, Federer's win-loss ratio is a .816, Djokovic's is .828, and Nadal's is .825. Now, yes, Djokovic and Nadal have slightly higher ratios than Federer for win-loss, but neither of them have played anywhere near the same number of matches. They're several hundreds of matches behind him in the number played. And the next most important thing, I believe, is the number of titles each one holds. And while the total number of titles is pretty important, Federer has 88, Djokovic has 62, and Nadal has 67. Probably the most important, considered at least by fellow tennis players and myself, would be Grand Slam titles. Now, I'm saying Federer is the most accomplished, best male tennis player to have ever lived. And this is pretty much my main reason why, is because the man has the most slams held. Those are the 4 big opens during the year, and he has won 17 of them in total during his career. Djokovic has only won 11, Nadal's won 14. Now, there are some other people who compare a little bit better to him when you're just looking at number of slams, but I chose to compare him against Djokovic and Nadal because they've actually played at almost the same time period. Their careers overlap heavily. All three of them are still playing today. And another important thing to note would be who actually has career Grand Slams and such. Djokovic, he's the current number 1 player, and a lot of people want to consider him the greatest tennis player because he is higher ranked than Federer right now and higher ranked than Nadal. And he's playing amazing. He's definitely made some records, but he still doesn't have that career Grand Slam. Federer does. Nadal even has a career Golden Slam, which you win all 4 of the Opens and you win the Olympics to get that one. So that's pretty impressive. And then also, just for number of weeks spent at number 1, Federer has the most out of anybody ever at over 300 weeks. And for comparison, Djokovic sits at 191 and Nadal sits at 141. So they just can't quite hold a candle to him when it comes to that. And I said Nadal is the best on clay court because he has the most clay court titles out of anybody ever, and he has the most titles won at an individual event out of any men's tennis player ever, and that's at the French Open, which is one of the 4 major slams, and he's won it 9 times. And almost every single one of those times was in a row. There was one year where he had to withdraw because he injured his knees, I believe, and then very recently he didn't win it. He lost out somewhat early on. But comparison, like Federer was a grass court player, which Wimbledon is the grass court open, and he's won it 7 times, and then Djokovic has won the Australian Open 6 times. So my conclusion would be Federer, greatest male tennis player to have ever lived, and Nadal, greatest clay court player to have ever lived.